but is he corrupt? Examples aside.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Very. Yes, irredeemably.
Okay.
Corrupt. I think it's a very unfortunate situation for the country that we have William Ruto sitting in the office as president of Kenya. I think William Ruto is actually unfit for the position of President of the Republic of Kenya. I have come sadly to that conclusion.
That is Justin Muturi. He spoke last week on Friday. And of course, a lot has also been said. He said that most of the programs that are undertaken in the current government, they are questions of personal interest. And he particularly referred to President William Ruto, who has not had an opportunity to speak, or rather has not taken the opportunity to speak about those allegations. Ahmed, so when Kenyans hear these allegations, what are they supposed to do?
You know, there is this woman, young writer from, I think it's Nigeria. She's called Chimamanda Adichie Ngozi. Probably one of the most influential writers today writing in Africa. And you know, she said that the concept of getting angry is actually quite transformative. And the people of this country are seething with anger because, you know, I coined the word a one-term president on the day that he was being inaugurated. You know, Mr. Museveni was the president of Uganda, was replying to me on the day that they inaugurated Mr. Ruto. I had said that Mr. Ruto was a one-term president, that he was going to ruin the economy, and he would not bring people together. It's on tape, and this is exactly what has happened. Now, but what I did not know was that the culture of thuggishness that emanates in our political system today, where the president of this country is accused by his attorney general of having links to the Russian oligarchy and the Russian mafia, is really the signature of a failed state. I don't know what else to call it. Because once you have those kinds of allegations from the honorable office of the Attorney General and the chief legal officer of the president, I think that, you know, all bets are off. But Sam, I think it is deeper than that. I think that this country is faced with an existential, if I can use that one term, threat from the state and from our government. And, you know, the government is supposed to be the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But when the political class is talking about stealing our taxpayers in such brazen terms, then the people's right to wait for an election in 2027 is going to be absconded. The fact that every person in the Gen Z who was demonstrating on the streets of Nairobi, the president stood in front of this country and said, I've listened, I've heard you. And then he went and appointed every person who was in that list in which people were opposing back through the back door, and they're all in State House. All of them, including Mr. Kuria, who's just facing charges with Equity Bank, I think. Now, I think that I've talked about this culture of lies, where they want to just lie, so that the people can not distinguish between the truth and the lies. But Mr. Muturi's allegations are really the most serious allegation I have heard since I started politics, and it's a long time ago. Mr. Muturi essentially said that our president is irredeemably corrupt. Now, if he says that he's irredeemably corrupt, what should we do about that? Because the National Assembly is not doing anything about it. Our current Attorney General is not doing anything about it. The institutions that we have is not doing anything about it. The public prosecution is not doing anything about it. Is the president of this country above the law? Or is he governed by the constitution of this country? We need to ask ourselves those questions. And I was of the view that we needed to wait for an election because the Gen Zs, who are much smarter than everybody else, saw what was going on in this country. And they took the mace to Pipeline. You remember that happened? You know, the mace of the Nazi, that's the symbol of our government. It was making the rounds in pipeline. There was shootouts in...
Which is not the official mace being used at Parliament. It was one that is...
Yeah, but the symbolism of it, because these kids had gone into the National Assembly. They burnt down the Chief Justice's offices in there. I mean, once you have the symbol of the system out, that's what the people are telling the government, that you no longer represent us. So I'm not trying to be radical at all. I think I'm probably one of the most sober people there is who speaks about politics in this country. But I think that it is worse that even the opposition, the so-called opposition in this country, which was under the tutelage of Mr. Odinga, were putting on Arab hats in Mombasa and saying that all is well in this country and that there's nothing wrong and they're just going to wait for a national election. The poverty level, Sam, I put it to you today, if you just go out here on the street, you could see how broken our country is. The people have nothing to eat. It's difficult for men to take food to their families. There are no jobs. We know that the healthcare system has collapsed. We know that the food program for children in primary school is not there. Mm-hmm. We know that every shilling that is taken from the taxes of these people, we don't know where it goes. And now that there's this discourse in the government about what is actually happening, right. All bets are off, and we pray that we can still have a country tomorrow morning. Okay.
Yet, Dr. Okot, you were in the team that gave us this constitution that is now 15 years old. Matters should be handled within the constitution. Ahmed here says that Parliament is not doing what it's supposed to do. Yesterday I had a panel of political leaders, actually all of them are parliamentarians, and half of the bench was saying, dismiss whatever J.B. Muturi is saying. The other half of the bench was saying that perhaps it's time that Parliament investigated these allegations. But you cannot discuss the conduct of a head of state unless you have a proper motion before the House. And that would be an impeachment motion. And that, based on the framework that you have in Parliament, that is not likely to happen. So then what?
So, fundamental question you raised there. Parliament of Kenya today is actually an appendage or an extension of a failing executive. And the first thing that Ruto did when he came into power was to compromise members of the opposition so that he can create this fake narrative that Kenya Kwanza is the majority. He has since been proven wrong by courts. But the truth for the matter is we don't have a parliament, we don't have an executive. In fact, let's be practical. Most Kenyans do not know, and I repeat it, and I think I've said it in your show before, if not to you or with Trevor, that, Ruto is the longest elected politician in the history of Kenya. He has never lost an election since 1997. Do the maths.
Maybe you mean for those in office today, because Kibaki was longer.
I don't know how...
Well, Kibaki has passed on.
No, no.
Right.
Yeah, but those in office today, I mean, I think 1997 up to now, as a member of parliament, very key figure in... But the fundamental question that Kenyans should be asking now, what success story can we associate him with? Even with all that political pedigree of so many years, other than scandals, and which are now coming from people he worked with closely.
What do you mean with success? Because he's fairly a successful politician, isn't he?
No. By success, I mean, give me any one single project that this president has implemented in all those years that has been transformational to the people of Kenya. I mean, people can remember, that's why people call him Arap Mashamba, because of land-related scandals. The Mahindi saga, the Aror Kimwarer. The list is so long. In fact, remember, I think we had this show, with Abdikadir, when they were accusing Gachagua of being corrupt. Surely, if you just to replace the name Gachagua there with, say, William Ruto, the list would be from here to Timbuktu. So I think going forward...
Yet none of this have been confirmed. And that's what I'm asking, because it's only Parliament today...
my brother Hashi...
that can verify those allegations.
Some.
Yeah.
Hashi has listed a number of things that are failing this country, from healthcare, infrastructure, school feeding program, and all that. Those are realities. Today, I don't know about you, Sam, but maybe because I attempted to be president of this country in 2017, I get calls, people asking me for 200 bob so that I can put food on the table today.
Yep.
That is a crisis, Sam. You and I know that wherever we go, maybe even for just our social,
Yep.
you can hardly, I mean, what can you buy with 200 shillings? Nothing. But there is somebody here in this country, even now as we speak, who will ask for 200 shillings. They will even ask for 50. Now you ask yourself, what can he go and actually buy with 200 shillings to be able to feed his children? So going forward, there is hope in the Gen Z generation. We really hope that they can take up the mantle of leadership, because people have been talking about leadership for the longest time, but with no transformational agenda. And there is a charter, the African Charter on Democracy. I think we should invoke that charter, because I know it says that the unconstitutional removal of government is not constitutional. But I think if you look at the spirit of the Constitution, right from Article 1, it says all power vests, all sovereign authority vests in the people to exercise it directly or indirectly. Now, I think we probably need an urgent constitutional amendment where Kenyan people can actually now fire a failing government or a failing president, and people may not like some of these examples. Look at the amazing things Captain Ibrahim Traore is doing in Burkina Faso. Within a very short period of time, he has paid all the national debt, food securities, and salaries and everything. I mean, he's turning around that country. Then people will come here and tell you, oh, that's a military democracy. Yet there are people here who are democratically elected but are hiding behind those democratic principles, but actually failing the country. I mean, the things that Doc here has mentioned, by the time, honestly, a president of a country, our president, is associated with a rebel movement, you know, that's serious. We associated with oligarchs. We all know the story of the oligarchs. They're not good people. These are peddlers of drugs and all bad things. These are money launderers, fraudsters, you know. So we are not new to these things. But when your president is actually associated with that, shame on our parliament today, because somebody should have now moved a motion to say, no, this president is not fit to run, because now the binoculars, the spotlight is actually shining on the person who is the head of the state of Kenya.
And so it should be to Parliament to verify those allegations.
Yeah, but we have a dead Parliament. But if somebody in Parliament there was worth any thought, and look at the way the opposition, people claiming they are opposition, yet they are in government. What opposition are you playing when you're in government? You know? So somebody should really draw a motion in Parliament today and to remove this presidency, because it is hurting Kenyans. I mean...
Okay, let's take a look at, because we asked you the question,
I'm actually getting angry. I'm trying to control.
I'll get you some water. It helps, trust me. We want to hear from...
Anger is the right emotion.
At TV Kenya, Sam Gichuku, the extract to use is Citizen Daybreak, that is on X, but you can also text us at 22422. I'll be also looking at some of those sentiments and SMSs that you share with us. Let's take a look at some of those that you've shared on X on what you think is a country that we should have. This is Bob Otieno, who is saying that I want a Kenya of corruption-free, good governance, a truthful nation, and a peace, love, and unity country away from political bickering, and not to let our beloved nation in the hands of politicians. That's Bob Otieno. Lekishon Laban, the Kenya we want is like the Africa we dream of, where young people are not so desperate to look for jobs at funny countries like Thailand and get oppressed. We need leadership where the head of state is not arrogant, selfish, or corrupt, but concerned. Okay, Mwalimu, Kenyans should take the sentiments of both Gachagua and Muturi with a pinch of salt. It's public knowledge that the two had to be relieved of their duties before they began making unsubstantiated claims. If they were as clean as they want us to believe, they would have resigned. Babu Michael, the truth is that dirty dealings in government has become a norm to an extent that when you come out to reveal some of them, then you become a betrayer. We can't refute Muturi's claims now, but only if proper investigation is done on them untabled. Sam Masika is saying that with all the accusations leveled against President Ruto, can we still trust his leadership? Is he genuinely invested in Kenya's welfare? or merely focused on regional influence? The honorable course of action would be the president, for President Ruto to resign. That is Sam Masika, what you're saying this morning. I want us to listen also to what the president said as an accusation to his former deputy, Rigathi Gachagua. Of course, he exonerated himself from having any contribution or any effect to what befell Rigathi Gachagua. Hear what he said.
Sasa ikanifikia mimi. Mimi sasa. Unajua, mimi naweza kukufanya one-term president. Usipofanya hii, usipofanya hii, usipofanya hii, nahitaji bilioni 10. Wewe unajua bilioni 10, Bwana Waweru?
Labda zilikuwa za nini rais? Bilioni
10 ndio niende niongee na watu ya Mlimani, you know, ni kupangie siasa, sijui nifanye nini. Mimi nikaona hapa nikamwambia I will not do it. Wacha nimalize. So nikamwambia hii haiwezekani.
All right. So my panelists have been debating what the president is saying there about the claim of 10 billion shillings. So forgive my hand.
Add something to that. Just one sentence.
No, so please note it down because I want to hear from Diana first. So the former deputy president has responded, saying that it is not true about the 10 billion shilling. In fact, he's saying that he has secret recordings of a 2 billion shilling retirement package offered to him in exchange for his resignation ahead of his impeachment. So 10 billion is more than 2 billion. Actually, it's 5 times that amount. And the other allegations that I'll be reading from the Standard of what transpired yesterday in an interview with KTN.
Maybe Diana has better figures.
Sorry, Diana,
don't throw off Diana. Diana, continue.
Diana, go ahead and tell us what this is.
One thing I think needs to happen is because these people want to numb Kenyans. I think we all need to demand that Muturi, Gachagua, William Ruto swear affidavits. They now need to swear affidavits around all the allegations that they are making.
Take it on hold.
Okay? You know, they are acting like these people who produce things on TikTok or Real Housewives of Kilimani, Sugoi, Sagawan, Wamonyoro. You know, we cannot be treated that way by people who have enjoyed most of our tax money. It is simply unacceptable. And I think media stations, and we are here, everything we have said, we can start reducing it to an affidavit. Because right now where we are, if what Gachagua has, let me go with Muturi. If what Muturi has said is true, these are things he ought to have stopped and raised with his counterparts, the ODPP, and so on. They are very, very serious. They touch on the sovereignty of this nation. We will have no face. This country had every vantage in diplomatic relations. We've had certain prestige based on who we are, particularly in the East Horn and the Great Lakes. Right now, can we even mediate any conflict with all this bickering?
We couldn't even get the AUC position.
Because of how badly we've reduced. I even wonder how we are running the Human Rights Council. If this is truly our reputation. And think about it. I want to pick on something else. The health bills. He says, I didn't draft them. It started wrong. It must go wrong with everything around the health transformation that is it transformation or regression? Regression, because it started wrong. So our political class must exit. And what has happened, and Sam, you keep referring us to Parliament, but what happened with the Gen Z and why it took reject the finance bill, we knew. Parliament doesn't run this country anymore. They are supposed to be the ones that determine our budget, our taxes, but they had to go and be given a memo in State House and clap and then go back and rub every single clause for us to move forward. There are Kenyans who've moved to court already because they are saying we never envisaged a failure of the executive and the parliament. Give us a transitional mechanism so that the people can be safeguarded and respect sovereignty of the people can be safeguarded in one form or the other. If we go for a referendum right now to change the constitution, with which IBC? With what budget? Okay? So I think we will have to create serious innovation.
Right.
And make sure that these leaders we do not deserve get so uncomfortable. In these interviews, it has been said that all these gatherings you see from Mount Kenya to Western to Nyanza, every part of this country, once people are paid, their desperation gets them there. I think Kenyans need to realize their real pain. When you must borrow 200 because of a regime that just steals from us every day, we cannot continue giving them comfortable audience. We must make it very, very uncomfortable for them to appear before us, even before the media station. Because right now we are just reacting to what they are saying. Let them quickly expose this and we start filing. So
question, if Justin Muturi writes an affidavit, what is the word? What is the verb for the affidavit?
Swears.
Swears an affidavit.
Yes.
Thank you. With who? Where does he file it?
First, he files it. These are commissioners of oaths and notaries public.
In fact,
the minute he swears...
I'm offering my free legal service to him.
The minute he swears, this is a time, if the ODPP cannot take it up, we will go for private prosecution. You know, we will need all this information to now create
I'm asking that because,
a truly people inquiry.
Because to present a motion to impeach, it can only come from a member of parliament.
Yes.
It cannot even emanate from a petition. You cannot petition parliament to impeach. It is a member of parliament to come up with a motion.
If they frustrate the constitution to that level. Yeah, because we have people who just don't care about this constitution. And that is why people felt helpless and decided we will do something and occupy the street. If that happened, the spirit of the Constitution is that we do not deserve these leaders. We will go there, 390, 290 of us, 350. We will constitute. We can even be times 10. 390 times 350 times 10, 3,500 representatives. And we take back our power. We can reconstitute alternatives.
Here this, oath of office for cabinet secretary and partly.
But let me take it back. I think members of parliament, the minute they realize the power has shifted from the executive to the people, they will toe the line. That is where we need to take the pressure.
Let me reference this, the oath of, for cabinet secretary, that I will not divulge directly or indirectly such matters as shall come to my knowledge in the discharge of my duties and committed to my secrecy, except as may be required for the due discharge of my duties as cabinet secretary. And I want to leave it at that. So that, swearing to secrecy, and then information coming to your attention that there are dirty dealings going on, and questioning a cabinet secretary or a DP, a former, where they didn't reveal while they were under oath. How do you balance that?
The Constitution. The accountability is to the people of Kenya.
And the oath, Dr.
Some oath of secrecy is not licensed to tolerate criminality.
Absolutely.
Correct. Yes. What Muturi and Gachagua and Ruto and the rest are saying are criminal things. And so what they are doing, on average, I think people believe Muturi than the president on this. So what they are saying is what they need to have said earlier, but it's good enough that they are saying it. But look, I want to take us back. I watched the president when he was in Mount Kenya the whole of last week. I followed all his speeches. I tried to, since I've been a politician myself, I tried to also look at the crowd, to look at the body language of people around him and the crowd that he was addressing. And by the way, I was not a Kenya Kwanza guy, but I read their manifesto, page 1 to the last. And I realized that part of the problem we have, which I think is the biggest thing, is that these people don't know how to implement their policies.
If they're really...
Yes, very basic thing. You know, it's more or less listening to Trump now. You know, you don't know what the guy is going to say next. And America is such a wonderful country with strong institutions. But you can easily tell that nobody will trust them now for any deal. That is the problem with the president and Kenya Kwanza. Nobody can trust them to implement their policies. Now, I know several people who are, I will call them advisors to the president, who are certainly his supporters. And on average, they're very intelligent people. These are people I went to school with. These are people who, on average, have degrees that you can trust that they can implement policies if given opportunity. So what's the problem? What's the problem? Because you called us here to discuss the Kenya we want. We seem to have a very serious problem with people who don't understand something very basic about public policy. Public policy simply means that when you promise people something, you try to deliver it.
Right.
And if you fail, you acknowledge and listen to contrary opinion, and then we reform going forward. Now, I'm not sure they listen. I totally don't think they listen. I'm not sure that they understand the things they promise. Because, Kenya Kwanza Manifesto is very, very good. If they were only to implement even a quarter of it,
right,
people will forgive the rest. Now, I told you I listened to the president talking, and I saw him talk about unity. But there's no unity in poverty. There's nothing like that. This entire discussion we are having about tribalism in Kenya is just a tool of control for poor people. I mean, Dr. Kuro and I and Diana here, who was my not year mate, a year behind me at Moi University, we know, we've been around, we've traveled a bit. We know that there's nothing like you can separate me with Diana based on the fact that I'm Luo and Diana is Kikuyu. There's nothing like that. What is there is that Diana and I want to professionally grow. And in the process, we want to be fairly compensated. You cannot separate me with Dr. Ekuru. It is not possible. So the Kenya we want.
Right.
I think it is now high time we probably have a more serious conversation, some more respectful conversation. And I think it is important that the president and his team be called to order. And I hope you know what I mean by order. Order simply means that we are not fools. Yes, we are done with stupid discussions around tribalism, around uniting the country, around appointing my brother to be a minister and thinking that I'm part of that government. I'm more interested in you appointing my brother, and my brother does the right job. So the earlier they realize this, the better. I hope they still have some time. I mean, we are about 2 years, I think. I hope they still have some time. And I hope they realize that time is short. If they don't...
What do you mean you hope?
I just hope. You said we will talk about the Kenya we want.
I have a question, Sam.
Sorry, I just wanted to reference what C.S. Murkomen said last night.
Yeah.
He was referring to the sentiments by J.B. Muturi. Muturi is completely out of order. Huyu mtoto wake ako 50 years. Mbona haongei kuhusu abduction na ni mzima? First, he's not 50 years old. Mbona Muturi? Why can't Muturi go report of the corruption allegations to DCI? He simply refused to take instructions from the president. Muturi went against oath of secrecy in withholding government documents. This is the lowest a former AG can reach. He's not the first to be fired.
The culture, just 1 second, the culture in the administration of this country is about fear and yes men. Mr. Murkomen, yesterday, the day before that, said that the young people who are behind these keyboards are drug addicts, people with mental health issues. The great Stalin the dictator of the Soviet Union, was the one who actually invented this discourse, where anybody who opposed him was a mental case issue, or he was a drug peddler. For you to vociferously attack a person, you have to get rid of his humanity. And so once you get rid of his humanity, what happens is that it's easier to eliminate him. So Mr. Murkomen is just saying, you are in on the game with us. Why are you exposing what is happening inside us? And that is the incriminations that are going to come out of this administration sooner or later. Because there's a saying in my language, because there are a lot of people are speaking in their vernacular in this country. Let me at least teach them one thing about my culture's saying. There's a saying that says, I think it's a bit sexist. It says, "Havar daliwide, alelo kuwalat," which means that a woman who is barren, who doesn't have any children, cannot have children, just keeps on going to the witch doctor to ask them which man to marry so that she can get pregnant. But she can never get pregnant because she's barren. This government is barren, cannot have children. And it's going to the witch doctor to go and ask them when they can have kids. I think that what my colleagues have been saying here today is, I think, really just the tip of the iceberg. If you really want to know what's going on in this country, you have to ask the people. You know, we have to trust the people. We have to ask the people, because you don't have any other choice. Yeah. And I can tell you that the mean income, we're in the biggest recession in this country since independence. The lies they're telling about inflation in this country is cooked by the economic, so-called economic advisors council, which is really should be brought to trial in this country, because a lot of people have died and are suffering from under that ideas of David Ndii and the others who are in that commission. Secondly, third, there's no system that's working in this country right now. If you want to know the rottenness of corruption in this country, just go and look at all the skyscrapers that are being dissed with stolen money from devolution. Go to South Sea, go to Harlingham, and you will see it. You will see that when you pass any neighborhood now in Kenya, in Nairobi, there is the smell of sewage, because we're building so much on top that we're not dealing with the destruction of our infrastructure at the bottom. And in that way, the symptoms of our malaise, our symptoms of our problems, is this now finger pointing? Because someone has to pay come 2027, or maybe we might not even reach 2027, but someone has to pay for the problems of this country. And therefore, what's happening? They're now starting to point fingers at each other, which is good for us. Okay. Because in the beginning, Mr. Ruto and his acolytes sat down and said, how do we get power? We have to cheat everybody. We have to cheat the people of Mount Kenya. So they went to Mount Kenya and told them, oh, bottoms up. We are going to get rid of Uhuru. And if you look at a constant theme... It was bottom up. Yeah. No, the bottom ups now actually means something completely different. Bottom up is an economic model by Keynes, which they completely turned upside down. Bottom up now is about the people of this country being screwed. And I think that we could use this kind of language on national TV because people are desperate. Sam, last sentence. Okay. Last sentence, one last sentence.
It's 7:34.
The government, I want to tell you that I want to pass my condolences to Mr. Feroz Narwaji. You know, Feroz, as you know, when we were writing this constitution, we were in a political party. That man stood up for the civil and political rights of this country. And that generation of a man like that is now passing away. Yep. And the people who are supposed to defend this constitution now are in the government. They're in the government. Very few of us are now outside government. And I think that I'm still committed to an orderly transfer of power in this country. Right. You saw what happened in Bangladesh. We don't want what happened in Bangladesh to happen in this country.
Right. I'll get to you shortly, because we disrupted the line of thought of Dr. Komolo here. If you listen to what I just quoted of C.S. Murkomen, yes. And I have to say here, I don't have access to everything that he said, but this does not refute what C.S. Muturi was saying. He's just questioning why he's breaching the oath of secrecy and why he's coming forth to defend an adult man.
Sam, C.S. Murkomen knows me.
That's too bad.
And importantly, I think we know him as well. We know where he came from. And I think he's a sober guy. He needs to know that once you become CS for internal security, that's a very serious thing. You don't just make comments that your friends can come on national TV and say are naive. You know, it doesn't need to respond to everything. It doesn't even need to appear to defend the president. He just needs to implement what is the most important job he has now, which is national security. And national security is not about guns. National security is about being able to have people, ordinary person in Kenya, feel safe in Kenya. Being able to assure any average investor who wants to come to Kenya that once they put their money here, there will be rule of law. That is the job description for Murkomen. You know, it's not about, you know, trying to defend everything and defend them so naively that even my own students will question, Sasa, waziri huyu? And I know Murkomen is intelligent.
Okay.
Sam,
all right.
You know, I want to pick something from that statement. When he refers to these young people as being mentally ill, I think I agree with him to some extent. Because of the manner in which this government is governing, there are so many people who are depressed out there. So then the question is, then what do you do as a government of the day with a health crisis in the country, depressions with a generation? Then you do something about it instead of saying, I'm going to throw you away somewhere. This is basically like a kistocracy, a government of the most unsuitable people. And I think, just to pose a question to Kenyans, if today, Sam, your employee, even your domestic help, steals from you, what do you do? Yeah? What do you do? You fire them. That's the natural thing to do. Government of the day is an employee of the people.
Right.
This government has come out clearly to say things are wrong, they're accusing each other. Remember, taking oath of office, that oath of secrecy, by someone like the Attorney General, former Attorney General, former Deputy President, even a minister, then later on to come and actually say, by the way, this is exactly what was happening. See, we claim we are a Christian religious nation. So what's wrong with people eventually confessing? In fact, I doubt these guys even know about the 10 Commandments, because I think one of those... They do. No. I think they have not read it. Because one of those commandments is, thou shalt not lie. But they are all lying. So I think, like I said, it goes now back to the people of Kenya. For me, it is not too late. I think, like Diana said, Article 37 of the Constitution of Kenya gives us all the freedoms. We can occupy that parliament. You can occupy the... Listen, it's not rocket science. Change has happened in many, many other countries where people have actually even stormed and kicked out the president in a protected zone, like State House. It has happened, you know, in many countries. So I think instead of us sitting here and lamenting and doing nothing, we should do something about it.
Okay. All right. Let's take a look at what Kenyans are saying. Dr. Okot, let's hear what Kenyans are saying on X, because it's also important to incorporate what that is. Online vampire. What a name. The Kenya we want is a nation where corruption is a thing of the past, the rule of law is upheld, and systems like healthcare and education serve everyone equally. A Kenya built on integrity, justice, and unity, where mutual respect binds us together. Babu Michael, the allegations made by Muturi and Gachagua are extremely serious and are damaging Kenya's image, both nationally and more so internationally. If these claims go unchallenged and no credible reports are issued to disprove them, they will continue to be seen as truth. This is not healthy for a nation like Kenya. Michael, is it just a coincidence that once someone leaves the Kenya Kwanza government, they are suddenly labeled as incompetent? Even now, Kenyans are well aware of several incompetent cabinet secretaries, yet the president continues to reshuffle them from one ministry to another. So who is really the problem? Honestly? Obotieno, again you're saying, we don't want a Kenya controlled by politicians, but one led by the people. Citizens who uphold the spirit of the Constitution of Kenya, promulgated in 2010. To achieve this, we must vote out the current regime in 2027 and elect fresh visionary leaders, not the same old players. And Frank Orinde is saying Gachagwa's public accusations against President Ruto aren't mere political theatrics. They strike at the heart of the presidency's credibility. The damage to public trust is profound, and the government's image has been severely bruised. I take note that all those are men writing to us. Ladies, please, if you're watching, share with us your feedback. As Citizen TV Kenya Sam Gituku, the hashtag is Citizen Daybreak, and you can also text us at 22422. There are a few things that are unpalatable that you're sending on SMS. I'm looking at them here. But first,
I think you should say it. You should read them.
That is the sentiment. That is the soul of the Kenyan nation today.
I have a responsibility. Some of them are unpalatable. Trust me when I say that. Let's listen to what the president and the deputy president, the current deputy president that is, said while on a tour of Mount Kenya.
Na tungependa iendelee hivyo hivyo mpaka 2032, Mheshimiwa Rais, isikanyange hapo 2027, wacha iendelee mpaka huko 2032. Akifika huko atajipanga kivyake, wewe ukiwa umemtumia kufanya kazi. Watu wa Tharaka Nithi, wape makofi ya Deputy President wa Republic of Kenya. Mimi nauliza nyinyi, huyu profesa anatosha ama hatoshi? Huyu Kindiki anatosha ama hatoshi?
Kwa hivyo Rais, urafiki ambao uko nao kwa sisi watu ya hii area ya Mount Kenya na watu ya Tharaka Nithi in particular ni urafiki wa miaka mingi na uwezi kuharibika kwa sababu uko katika msingi dhabiti.
So Diana, the president and his entourage in Mount Kenya painted a very rosy picture of how things are working, projects are continuing. He unveiled some, and like yesterday we heard from the member of parliament for Manyata constituency, he had been in Embu to groundbreak the Embu market in May 2023. Last week he was there to inspect, and apparently it's at 40% completion, according to the MP Manyata, Mukunji Gitonga. Are we talking about two different countries?
Let me go. Ahmed started by lying not to believe. We have malignant narcissism from our leaders. People who tell lies, they believe them, they bring them back to us. Then there's another one I have learned, paranoid personality disorder. They become so distrusting, aggressive, and they will eliminate anyone who is not fitting into their narratives. What does it take? And you know, the president is a doctor. William Samoei Ruto. Have 2 PhDs here. These are thinkers. You take time, you retreat to think, reflect, and then chart the way forward. That is what this country needs, not tours. And you know that tour is very expensive because when they say some people are paid 10,000, yet the people who are relying on our social protection program are not even getting that money. It tells you how wrong things are in this country. And you've asked why women are not commenting. When you have such people with... This country is traumatized. Look at this show. People are saying, hey, we have no country here. Who are our leaders? Chomayo. That's not the reaction you should get from when leaders speak. We should be analyzing, is that a good program? Is that a bad program? Not the things we are discussing here. As a result, Kenyans rightly are traumatized. I am sitting here and I'm wondering, oh God, if I find myself in Tharaka Nithi where the president was, which hospital will I go to? Will Shisha accept me?
It's Shisha, correct?
No. Shifsha. No, accept my you get very traumatized.
He's right.
Okay? And you can see women are not responding. Our shock levels are at a different level. If I am abducted, if we are dealing with, you said oligarchs. My lessons didn't have that complex English, but I have learned about oligarchs as very dangerous people. We imagine the harm that we are likely to get.
Right.
And first you shut off, then now you're like, it has gotten to this limit, we can now speak out eventually. And women are speaking out in their own ways, starting from where they are feeling aggrieved, and femicide and so on. But we do not have two countries. We just have leaders who should not be our leaders at all. How do you relaunch a market? You've seen all those plaques that were being constructed the day before. I work at TISA, the Institute for Social Accountability. We'll go and audit, and you will find ridiculous figures. The Auditor General will tell us there were ridiculous figures that were used to construct those things. So that what? To what end, at the middle of your term, did we need that political bickering?
You know, it's interesting, Sam.
It is just wrong. And even for the governors who allow for the presidency to come launch markets, so what do they launch themselves? Taps?
Cattle dips.
Cattle dips, some of the markets are bigger, some cattle dips are bigger than the markets. And you know, I don't even think cattle dips exist anymore in this country. We've gotten so low, we are so traumatized. There are people who wake up every day to watch news as therapy, TikTok. We cannot continue like this. And then when people react in a certain way, you think they are drug addicts. No, you have inflicted so much trauma on the population that they have to react exactly that way.
Okay. Now, there's a viewer who is saying, I want a Kenya free of fat lies. I didn't know lies can be fat. Arrogance, chest thumping, mostly amateur presidency. Very sad indeed, the dark days of Nyatiti. I don't know what that means.
Nyatiti is a guitar from Nyanza. The musical instrument is called Nyatiti.
I'm an authority on Nyatiti and Luo songs.
So from Luo Nyanza, actually.
There are dark days of Nyatiti. What does that mean?
Nyatiti is that instrument. Guitar.
Yes, I get it. I get the instrument. But what does dark days of Nyatiti mean?
Simply means that...
the days that they were talking about.
Don't take it seriously, in brief.
Okay. All right. Now, if you look at page 23 of the Daily Nation, you'll see an important story coming from the Parliamentary Budget Office. Of course, you have said that there's a challenge with Parliament, but the Parliamentary Budget Office has accused President Ruto's administration of evading its responsibility by forcing households to finance programs such as affordable housing, universal health, social security, and university education. And of course, you know this to be true because 2.75% for affordable, no, it's not affordable, universal health coverage, 1.5% contribution for affordable housing, and social security now 6% with a maximum of 4,320. And you look at that, at the same time, you're talking about the challenges that the university education is facing, the challenge with the procurement of the digital health system that is costing 104 billion shillings. You have questions being raised by the Auditor General. And quickly, you find the president defending and saying that he had to call for such a consortium to deal with the challenges that were with NHIF.
Sam, the president himself admitted that SHA is failing. So we're not, it's the president. If you can find it on the record. He said that they're going to fix the problems of SHA. That's our healthcare system. So if the president himself says that the system is failing, it must be rotten. It must be in a really difficult stage. We know that taxes in this country are being brought back into the National Assembly through the back door again. There's a finance bill that's coming. The Minister of Finance himself has also admitted that the economy is in deep trouble. It's in yesterday's paper, or day before. The food program for children, which was promised by the Kenya Kwanza government, is failed. The higher education model of education that they brought under HELP has failed. The healthcare has failed. Taxes have gone up. This is just facts, It's important for us not to theorize, but to speak about facts. There is no one iota of infrastructure in this country that the president has cut the ribbons of. The markets, you see all these markets that he's talking about in Meru, the markets he's talking about in Embu, the ones he's trying to do in the Coast Province, none of them have gone off the ground. The bridge there in Meru County that everybody's talking about that is supposed to be built, He has gone to build it 3-4 times. The last time he went there was yesterday. It has still not been built. That's another fact. So I think it is important that when we collate all these facts, we know that the president's administration is just incompetent. It has failed. The last position where Mr. Duale was appointed Minister of Health knows nothing about the administration of the Ministry of Health. He has not held a competent ministry that has shown any progress at all. And I can guarantee you, and you can quote me here, remember I'm the one who predicted AU, that the Prime Minister is not going to get the AU or the whole country. I think Okuro Okot also agreed with me. And I can guarantee you that before the end of the year, there'll be another crisis in the health sector, because all his yes men are being appointed to critical parts. But what is even more dangerous is that the head of the intelligence, Mr. Haji, and the head of the military went on TV and they told this country, you know, you guys are speaking too much, your democracy is too much, Constitution is too much, there's a limit to what you have to say. These are civil servants in the security system. They are absolutely not allowed to speak to anybody else except the president. Let the president speak for himself. I mean, the president has been speaking for the last 35 years without anything to show for it.
No, but you know that was a message from the president.
Yes, it is a message from the president.
Let's go back to memory lane.
Why would you say that? They spoke in their capacity.
No, they spoke. Look, can I just finish this thing and then give it to Okuro? That is, to me, that was very dangerous. Because the security system in this country is supposed to protect us from enemies within and without. It is not supposed to attack the people. And I saw that as a direct attack on the democratic system of government that we have and the constitutional system of government that we have. The military, the police. You've seen the police inspector. He was taken there to Mount Kenya, and he spoke in vernacular. He was part of the campaign. I think the president should give the security chiefs a break.
I don't know why you're surprised that when I say that's a message from the president himself. Let's go back to 2010, when this constitution was promulgated. Who put in a vehement campaign against this new constitution? It was William Ruto. He was the leader of the No campaign.
No campaign, yeah.
So when you hear security chiefs warn Kenyans about their constitutional democratic liberties, it is coming directly from the boss himself. And so,
though you and I can agree that it was within his right to oppose the constitution.
It was, but I'm saying if he opposed the constitution, because remember, I mean, you know, there are many things that now...
He opposed the will of the people.
He opposed the will of the people, called this as a devilish constitution. He called it all manner of things. But then the question then is this, Sam. With a person like that now at the helm of this country, then you expect him to implement the will of the people? Because he was opposed to it. And so when you hear his security chiefs now go out to warn, which for me is unheard of. I mean, we've seen other intelligence directors, DGs before. I mean... Gishangi never addressed the country in this way.
Never.
I mean, again, and it's not, now it begs the question, nothing personal. We lawyers here can say where somebody has gone to school, which cases he has argued. Again, if you think about Nurdin Haji as DPP, he never even appeared to introduce his team in court. So this is a failed fellow from the prosecution being moved to intelligence. Zero.
I agree. Did his job require him to appear in court?
Most lawyers will struggle to know, hey, where did this guy come from as a lawyer? Today, I can tell you, I got my former student here, PhD. I can tell you, for the many years I taught at the Kenya School of Law and even at Warwick, I can tell you maybe over 1,000 students. So if I meet students now on the street, lawyers, they'll say, hey, at least mwalimu alitufundisha.
Okay.
But some people, you can't even remember where they came from. And therefore, these are people who have serious national responsibility.
The Interior CS had something to say about that issue about IG Kanja appearing in Nyeri with the president.
Very bad.
The IG appeared during a development tour. There is no crime in that. Other security personnel accompany the president. Are they committing a crime? IG accompany the president is not a crime. That's what he said. Also, there's feedback here. Sam, please tell Diana and Ipe Kibarua, I am jobless. This is Tony Webo from Webuye. Strong Gen Z. Aombaye na Pep.
The whole country is like that. The whole country is like that.
Diana is able to employ the entire country.
The whole country is unemployed.
Daybreak, I think as Kenyans, we have elected the leaders we deserve because we receive money in order to vote for them.
That is also true.
And we ignore visionary leadership simply because they refuse to give money to voters. Things will only change when we elect the right people to public office. Over to you, Kenyan voters. You don't say your name. Then another one is saying that the government is underrating Kenyans. It's now they are calling us mad people, drunkard.
That was so.
And saying that it is the government that is drunkard. Another interesting thing is that you say they are corrupt government. It irritates. This is Patience from Nairobi. Then you have a lady.
We speak. We speak.
Yeah, so because we have to end up, it's just about 4 minutes to the end.
Last comment, sir.
Dr. Komolo, let me begin with you.
Yes.
Because we have defined the problem.
Yes.
Like, I think the Kenyan problem is very clear to many people. We have heard of some of the proposals here. But in the meantime, what is the right thing to do? Because we are governed by institutions. Yes. There's a reason why we have 3 arms of government.
Yes.
And you have seen what has been happening. What are people to do?
Just before I give that closing comment, I did give an interview on Ramogi TV about this issue of security chiefs, NSIS director, and the head of the military.
Right.
And to the extent that I listened to them, they were saying people should not say Ruto must go. But what I said, which I think is important for them to realize, is that that's just a slogan. Jaramogi said not yet to Uhuru. I was there in 2002 when we were saying Moi must go as a student leader.
Yep.
I was there at Uhuru Park. They should be asking themselves something more important. Why are people naming the president several names?
Yes.
Yeah. And why do they change so much?
Why is there that slogan?
Yes. Yeah. Why is there that slogan? And how can you turn that slogan
around
to your advantage?
Exactly.
Yep.
And that takes them back to their policy, implementing them in a honest way, and when they fail, they admit. You also talked about Chief Shah, whatever. I'll advise Duale for free. All he needs to do is to go to Taiwan. Taiwan implemented universal healthcare overnight. It is not a very complicated thing because we all think that it is good to have universal healthcare. We all think that university funding model needs to be fair. We know the importance of education if you come from a village like I do.
Yep.
We all know. It doesn't have to be a very complex thing. It doesn't need a lot of thinking.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah. It doesn't need a lot of thinking.
Yeah.
You see, we all, anyway, have had opportunity to go to universities abroad where we were funded by other governments. It's a very basic thing, by the way. And any society that educates its people is always successful. So what do we do next? I don't qualify to advise Kenya Kwanza government. I don't think it is part of my job description. But I'm very sure that they have 2 years to totally rethink how they approach public service and totally start responding to people. You know, if somebody is alcoholic, that's a mental problem. Yeah? You should be asking yourself, why are the youths alcoholics, assuming they are? It's not something for you as a minister to abuse people demonstrating. So I don't qualify to advise Kenya Kwanza government. I don't think that they will listen to me anyway, but I think that they have 2 years to do it. And Baba's experts, I hope, also try to do their best because it will be very costly on them.
All right.
Yes.
Diana, quickly as we close.
I think what's the way forward? And one of Baba's experts has said, reduce the stealing by half. Just stop stealing from the people. That way, the Kenyan people can live in dignity, free of poverty. We should be able to finance our programs. We must rethink and stop going to borrow at 8 to 15% when we have people who are offering us credit at 1% just because we have loans, and the loans must come to an end. Kenyans, once IEBC is constituted, let us recall our MPs, let us write to them about this budget and the proposed finance bill. Yep. And there's a very high likelihood that our security agencies are working on legislation to shrink our freedom of expression. Let us be very ready to resist and defend our democracy, because it's the only thing that is keeping us going. They would have crushed us already.
So, unlike Dr. Komolo, me have some advice for Ruto. Number one, if you cannot stop lying, at least reduce the lying. Number two, there is always the option of resignation once you have failed. That is honor to the person occupying an office. And I think the spirit is there in Chapter 6 of our Constitution. And you know, somebody just sent me a message, Sam, comparing our president with a PhD for 2 years in office with Ibrahim Traore or Burkina Faso without the same level of qualification, but has turned around his country in a very short period of time. Even with so many attempted massacre of the guy, his country is just on the high rise. 2 years, he doesn't have a degree like Ruto, wasn't a very rich economy. Then you wonder, sometimes maybe kwenda shule too. There are people who go to school, maybe they just as passengers. But then you should be able to apply your intellectual acumen to solving problems.
All right.
And that's just tells you how we are not being compared with other countries. So our image as a country is actually
the truth is like a lion. All you have to do is set it free, and it will defend itself. That's a guy called Augustine of Hippo, the lawyers. I went to law school and then I dropped out, went to graduate school. Because
what happened?
I got this book called Commercial Law. Just ran away from it. So the truth is like a lion. We have to be able to, you know, a lot of people died in the last 50 years, 60 years to get this constitution. I know what my contribution has been and what has happened to me because of it. And if we cannot defend this constitution from the politicians, and if we do not get politicians of conviction, this country is going to go. These other countries in our neighborhood are failing because of lack of institutions to mediate power. Now, when there is a chill that is sent to the government, and everybody is scared of the head of state, nothing can be done in the country. We have separated the powers, it's not working. We have brought a constitution, they're trying to trash it. It is important that the culture of the people, the ultimate defenders of this country, it's the people. And their culture has to be defined against those who want to bring tyranny back to this country. And we ought to oppose it with every fiber of our bone.
Right. Feedback
Sam, imagine,
this hour.
For the IG, if on all development tours, judges, Chief Justice, the chair of the IEBC was on those development tours, what would that be?
It's a delegation. Let's take a look at what Kenyans are saying this morning as we close. At Citizen TV Kenya, Sam Gichuku hashtag to use the Citizen Daybreak. And as we get that, if they continue, I'm Winnie from Embu, we are tired. Rais ameingia mpaka kwa mifuko yetu. I'm replacing with the other word that she said. I don't think I'm fit to read that, but she's referring to the president. Alitupanga tutakuwa tunalipa health insurance 300 shillings, sahi nalipa 850. And I was forced to go back in my pocket a few days ago to get 27,000 shillings for CS. Yet they are arguing SHA iko sawa. Babu Michael again, it's a good thing that Gachagua is finally coming forward to expose some of the government's secret dirty dealings. My concern, however, is that these shady practices are still ongoing, and it might take another Gachagua to reveal them, but only when it's too late, probably when things have already gotten worse. Godi Baraza, finally, Kenya is burdened with dealers masquerading as leaders. A perfect example is those who work closely with the president. They praise him as an angel while they're in power, but the moment they fall out, They suddenly paint him as that. For the rest of us, it's pure hypocrisy. Thank you so much for your feedback, for making time to have this conversation. Dr. Eric Omolo, Diana Gishengo, Dr. Ekuru Okot, and Ahmed Hashi for making time to have this discussion. I see what you did. Your microphone is already off. So that's our time. We're talking about relationships with power. Safina Chengoma is coming to talk about relationships. Real relationships amongst people. Bye for now. Okay, asante sana.